Good Tuesday morning. Today is Tuesday, January the 29th, 2019. And while the rest of the world is waiting for the polar vortex to hit their area, we're waking up with a little bit cooler temperatures just like yesterday, and we've got a much better forecast for today. Today we've got partly cloudy skies with a high of 69 degrees. That's a few degrees warmer than yesterday. There's not a chance of any precipitation today, and the great news is all of those high winds have moved on through, so our winds will be around 6 miles an hour today. The humidity is only going to be 60%, so it's still going to feel cool to us. So grabbing a jacket or a sweatshirt as you go out, or even if you got to put on the flip-flops and socks, you might have to do that because it's still going to be a little bit cool feeling, but still a lot of sunshine today. So that will be a very, very nice relief. Tonight, we get down to 63 degrees, again, a little bit warmer than we've been having, still no chance of rain, and winds continue to die, getting down to about 4 miles an hour. So we are getting some relief coming through for the winds. So if we want to talk about some fishing, let me just tell you that conditions are improving by the hour on the water. So, and I realize that when I say conditions are improving, I'm talking about winds dying down and that sort of thing. If you're sailing, you're probably going to want to have higher winds, right? Because you're going to want to use your sails. And it's just the opposite many times for people that are wanting to go fishing. You don't want it to be quite as rough, and just the beat is exhausting sometimes. So just so you know, I'm aware that there's two sides to the wind argument and the wind wishes, so to speak. If you're wanting to look at your atmospheric pressure, though, it is dropping today. It's going from 30.09 to 29.91. And again, we have beautiful sunshine, partly cloudy skies all day long with no real chance of rain anywhere. So our UV index is going to be back up to a 7, which is very high. So definitely make sure you're staying protected. I wouldn't rely just on sunscreen. You also need some UPF clothes and hats and sunglasses and lip balm and just anything else you can think of that'll help protect you from the sun. Also, our water temperature is holding steady at 72 degrees, and maybe another day or so of this cooler weather, and that will drop as well. We start out this morning with seas about 4 feet, but then they diminish all day long, only ending at about 2 feet in the evening. So, like I say, improving conditions every hour of the day. We also have sunrise today at 7:10 a.m. Sunset will be at 6:11 p.m. Our first high tide is at 5:33 a.m. and the next high tide is at 4:59 p.m. There's only one low tide today. It's a one low tide kind of day, and that will be at 10:02 a.m. Today, we've got 11 hours of sunshine, and our solar transit will be at 11:40 p.m. We've got a very low tidal coefficient today. It's a 46. That means our lowest low tide is not much different than our highest high tide. So here are the numbers today. Our lowest low tide is 0.3 above sea level, and our highest high tide is 1.5 above sea level. So you're looking at barely over a foot difference between high tide and low tide. So not going to make a lot of difference if you're going in those skinnier areas. You don't even really have to worry too much about it, as long as you know you've got a foot or two to play with. So if we're looking at our solunar charts for activity today, we don't have a lot going on. Even our major periods, which is normally where we see the most activity, are only one fish activity. Our minor periods are 0 fish activity. So overall, this is a 0 fish day, and it's kind of sad because weather-wise, it is the first decent day we've had with calmer winds and more sunshine, less rain, less turbulent out there. And so, you know, it's just kind of a shame that they can't all get their act together and line up on the same days so that we can have great fishing whenever the weather is awesome. So major periods, 7:42 a.m. to 9:42 a.m. and 8:10 p.m. to 10:10 p.m. Those are one fish activity. Any other time is just going to be the same as 0 fish activity anyway, so not much to look at out there on the solunar charts. as the week goes on, we will be at least getting one fish back before we end the month. And so things will improve. But again, it's going to be a little bit cool if you're out on the boat today. So just, you got to take some layers and got to be prepared, because in shady spots or windy spots, you're going to feel it being a lot colder. If you're in the bright sunshine, you're going to probably want to be like a cat and just lay with your belly up or something and let the sun enjoy heating you. And so... So when we talk about our Gulf Stream, it's pushing a little further offshore during the day today. But the good news is that the winds and the waves, the surface winds and the wave heights are calming down some after that front passed through. So surface winds really through most of the Gulf Stream are only going to be 10 to 15 knots today, and even dropping down to 5 to 10 later on in the afternoon. And our wave height out in the Gulf Stream is only going to be between about a foot, between a half a foot and a foot. So nothing much to speak of there. If you're trying to dive, because the weather has been so bad the last few days and we've had so much wind and we've had areas where there's been a lot of rain, the water is very murky right now. So it's not the best to go diving, not the best to go spearfishing. So just don't forget about that, because it's going to take a few days of some calm winds and no rain for the water to clear up so that you can actually have any kind of visibility underwater. But you know what? The weather is a huge news story for the rest of the country right now, and we are sitting down here in a virtual paradise, island paradise with island and tropical weather. So I can't help but think we are the lucky ones. So I always think that. I'll never get tired of living down here, loving this winter weather. Even if it's a little chilly for my taste right now, that's okay. I'll suffer through it instead of having to take the Arctic polar, what do they call it? The polar vortex or the Arctic plunge or something like that. Anyway, it sounds absolutely dreadful. I read that Chicago is going to have temperatures at 0 between about midday today through midday Friday. No, thank you. I'll stay exactly where I am, because you know what? We're in the Florida Keys and it is the perfect day to have the perfect day. This weather report is brought to you by the very anti-cold weather company 43 Keys Media. You can find more about what's going on right now in the beautiful Florida Keys by visiting 43keys.com. You can also get this show as well as others as an Alexa flash briefing. You can find it on YouTube, and you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. So no matter where you're listening, just subscribe so you don't miss a single show. And then we'll see you over at 43keys.com.